Hi, I'm CarAudionElectronics, and today we're going to go over cutting circles. Sounds like a really basic chore, but in car audio with the speakers and the subwoofers that we deal with on a daily basis, we cut a lot of circles, cut a lot of rings, cut holes into speaker boxes, adapter rings, things of the sort. And so I want to show you a good, repeatable, and accurate way of cutting circles with a router. In order to cut your perfect circles, one of the things, the most important thing that you need is a router, and a plunge-based router is the best way to go with a circle cutting jig. If you cut as many circles as I do, buying a piece like the Perfect Circle jig from Mobile Solutions is a good way to go. There's homemade type jigs that you can make, but if you do a lot of work, professional circle cutting jig is definitely the way to go. First, I'll show you why you want a router with a plunge base. One of the first things that you need for this is a plunge router, and let me explain why you want a plunge router. A plunge router is the type of router where it allows the vertical movement without twisting the router, and all you have to do is pull this lever and it frees up the vertical movement, and then you lock the lever back in place and it holds it in place. And the reason for this is you're moving the router in a vertical motion quite often, and having a plunge router saves a lot of time, and it's just a superior way of doing it. Depending on the material thickness that you're going to be cutting, you're going to want to set your router bit height in order to cut properly and not overcut on your thickness, and we'll do that now. First thing you want to do is set the router with the bit properly tightened. The bit that we're going to use is a 1/4 inch downward cut spiral bit, and the reason why it's downward cutting is it keeps kind of the dust from flying up and it pushes it downward. In order to set the height on your router bit, you want to first zero out the router bit by making it touch the surface on a flat surface and lock the plunge into place. Next, what you want to do is put the scrap piece of material that's the same thickness as the wood that you are cutting in between the depth gauge and this rotating depth stop. We're using a 3/4 inch MDF material here. Here's a scrap piece that's the same thickness as the MDF that we're cutting. And what we'll do is, you can see that there's 3 different stops here. What they're on a normal router, plunge router, they're in 1/4 inch increments. You don't want to plunge through all 3/4 of an inch of your material in one shot, so you want to cut in 1/4 inch increments. And so what you're going to do is take your piece of MDF and put it on the lowest setting here, and then what you do is drop your depth stop, and so it pinches the material with a little bit of play, but then tighten the set screw so that when you do your final plunge, you don't overcut into your material or base material. Another thing that you'll definitely want if you work regularly as a installer or fabricator is having a real production circle guide, and this one's a Perfect Circle, the Perfect Circle, available from Mobile Solutions. It's a 1/2 inch thick aluminum plate with very sturdily built with a 1/8 inch guide pin, and it's infinitely adjustable between this 1 inch, 1.5 inch hole all the way up to about 15 inches. So it'll cut all those ranges of holes with infinite adjustment. I believe this is superior to a circle jig with pre-cut holes because it allows you to pretty much cut any size hole with very, very good accuracy. Now, there are some people who don't like that because there's an element of error, but I want to show you how to avoid those errors and cut perfect circles. A lot of the tricks that I'll show here aren't really groundbreaking or anything crazy, but it's the little twists and the little tricks that make you a more efficient fabricator time-wise, and you can create cooler things because you don't spend time making errors and things like that. One of the things that I figured out with circle cutting is that it takes a lot of time securing the ring so it doesn't spin, and using brad nails, double-side tape, things of the sort. That takes a lot of time, so I figured out a way of reducing that, and that's by using this board here. All it is a 18 by 18 piece of 3/4 scrap MDF, and what I've done is purchase some non-slip pad that you can find at Walmart, Home Depot, places like that. And what it allows you to do is place your material that you're routing on the surface, and it won't spin on you without having to do any extra steps other than placing it on the mat. What it is the router pad is just with contact cement, is glued onto both sides. And so you want to use a piece that's about 18 inches square. That's just the natural width of the roll. If you try to make a piece that's too small, the weight of the MDF doesn't hold it down and it may spin on some slipperier surfaces. But an 18-inch pad, 18-inch square pad works really well, even on the slickest Formica countertop.